Hello and welcome back to Adulting 101 Academy. Today we're diving into a topic that every adult on the road should know about: essential items to keep in your vehicle for safety and preparedness. So, whether you're heading out on a daily commute or embarking on a long road trip, having the right tools and supplies can make all the difference. From unexpected breakdowns to sudden weather changes, being prepared can keep you safe and stress-free. So buckle up as we guide you through the must-have items that will ensure you're ready for anything the road throws your way. And guys, I am Josh. I am the host of Adulting 101 Academy. Thank you for taking the time to log in here to listen to what we got to say. And I'll be honest, guys, there is a lot of things that are important to me when it comes to this topic because of the fact that my family travels a lot. I have grown up as a traveler in a way, doing road trips with my parents. We lived in Washington State, and about every other year we would drive to Southern California. One year we drove across the country to Missouri and Tennessee and back, and we've done a lot of road trips. Driving for 5, 6 hours is pretty nothing for my family. We're pretty used to it. And now that I'm married and have kids, we've done road trips pretty much every year, at least a 5, 6 hour road trip for a vacation. We've done 20-hour road trips to get back to Washington because we live in North Dakota. And even in the next year or two, we might be looking at driving back to Southern California, which is a 22-hour drive. So being on the road and being ready for whatever comes our way is something that we take serious. We take serious the items that we have. And like I said, it's near and dear to my heart, something that I want everybody to be aware of. But before we jump into that, I do ask if you get a chance, please like this video. Go check out our other videos. I've got stuff on resumes, cover letters, preparing for natural disasters. We got a video coming out on grocery shopping and budgeting, lots of different things that aren't necessarily taught in school, and things that we still need to learn and know about as we move forward. So please take that. Please subscribe to the channel. That really helps out. And let someone know about this channel who you think could benefit from the information that I share in these things. So once again, our topic is essential items to keep in your car for safety and preparedness. And right off the bat, we're going to talk about some of the most important things, in my opinion. And right off the bat, it's first aid kits. This may seem trivial in some ways, having Band-Aids and Tylenol and Pepto-Bismol and just different little items like that. But I will tell you, those are used more often than you realize, especially if you have kids. That is something you got to have. If people in your family get motion sickness and car sickness, having Dramamine in your car kit all the time is a lifesaver over and over again. So have those things. The next thing with that is trauma kits. This is a step up. This isn't your Band-Aids. This isn't your little things. This is actual tourniquets, Israeli bandages, blood stopping kits. It's something that you kind of really need to um, pay a little bit more for. I will be honest, getting the bleed kits and the tourniquets, they cost a little bit of money. But if you travel a lot, and even if you don't, maybe you only travel 5, 10 minutes to get to work and back each day, and it's all you ever do, even that, having those items could be a lifesaver. Even if you don't necessarily know how to use the bleed kits and things like that, if you come upon a scene and someone does know how to use it and you have it, that can be the difference between someone surviving till the ambulance gets there or not surviving. So I have those things. Now I have taken the time to start to learn how to use those things because it's important, because what happens if I'm in a car accident and it's my family that's at risk? I want to know how to use those things, and I want those things to be there and available for me. So have trauma kits, have the first aid kit, especially the trauma kit. You can go down to your local sporting goods store. I go to Shields. Shields is what we have here in Bismarck, North Dakota. And they actually have an area for trauma kits, and you can buy it. It has a tourniquet, has the quick clot cloth that you can use. That stuff works great. I've used that more than a few times for my daughter when she's hit different things on playgrounds, stuff like that. But it has a lot of different things you can use very quickly to help save someone. So do that. Next thing is fire extinguisher. In my travels, and actually, I wasn't even driving, it was someone else was driving, came across a vehicle that had been in an accident and was smoking. It was looking like it was about to go on fire. and we had fire extinguishers. In fact, a few cars had fire extinguishers there just in case flames did erupt. It was a very needed thing at that moment, and you never know when you're going to need that. You never know when you come out to a car accident and realize, oh, there's something wrong with the fuel tank, something that's kind of starting a spark that you can put out very quickly and save lives. So have a fire extinguisher. That is important. I recommend also having fire extinguishers in your house, your apartment, but that's something we'll talk about more later on down the road, some of my other videos, but have a fire extinguisher in your car ready to go. And don't get the cheap little plastic ones. Get the good ones. Get ones that can actually have a good 10, 15, 20-second spray to really make a difference. You don't want those little handheld ones that spray for like 3 seconds and they run out. That's not enough to stop a fire. Get the good ones. Spend a little bit of money. It could save a life. It's worth it. The next thing is reflective warning triangles. Now, you'll see a lot of semi trucks when they pull off the side of the road or they're at the rest area, they'll put those little triangles out, or even like the different internet vans will put those things out. And those are great. And those are good to have. The thing I found that I enjoy having more, because I use them for a lot of different things, is actually those 6 packs of lights that can flash or spin or do that. They're red lights, they're flares, they're light flares, but you put a battery in them, you can use them, reuse them over and over again. I actually used them this Halloween, put them in pumpkins and set the light to spin, and it really gave a cool effect. So it's one of those things where, yes, I have it in my car all the time in case there's an accident. I need to warn other drivers of a hazard or something like that. But I also use them for fun things as well. So they have multiple options, multiple things you can use them for. But the main thing I use them for, once again, you get out there, maybe there's a car accident or there's an obstruction on the road. Putting those flare lights down can save someone's life. It's a big deal. So have those in your car. If you can't afford the lights, and they get some of those reflective warning triangles. Those work great as well. Now, for emergency supplies, you want to have jumper cables. Now, I will be honest, I do not have jumper cables in my vehicles. The reason I don't have jumper cables is because I have those battery pack jumpers. So I actually just can hook in the little cable set that I have into this battery pack, which also can charge my phone if I have to, although I don't use it for that. I have other things to charge my phone, but I can plug in the cables, put it next to my battery, plug it in, and jump it in a matter of 10, 15 seconds doing that. And it's a lot easier. I prefer doing that because if my car dies in the middle of the night and there's no one around me, then I'm going to be sitting there waiting for someone. I would rather have that pack in my car and jump my own vehicle instead of waiting to find someone else who has jumper cables or is available to do it. So that's something to think about. Once again, at the very least, get jumper cables. But if you can afford those little jumper battery packs, do that. Do that. Make sure they stay charged because that will save you a lot of time and hassle. If you get to a situation where, hey, your car died at a Walmart at 2 a.m. and there's no one there to help you, that type of thing. Next thing is have a flashlight in your vehicle. I actually have 3 or 4. Most of them are headlamps. I have one that's handheld. But the rest of them are headlamps. Because if I've got to work on changing a tire or figure out what's going on with my car, I don't want one hand being used with a flashlight while the other hand tries to do all the work. So I put a headlamp on, both hands are available, works great, but you got to have some kind of a flashlight, something that works. Hand crank flashlights usually have like weather radios. So if you live in a state that gets a lot of snow or bad weather, especially like tornadoes, that might be something to have as well, just so you can catch the weather forecast. Next thing you want to have is a blanket. A wool blanket is the best. Those things are big, they're warm, they're great. I don't have any wool blankets at all. I don't own any. They're a little bit more expensive than a regular blanket, which also we have a ton of blankets in my house and my wife doesn't want me to buy more. So I don't have any wool blankets. But I do have some good warm blankets that I have out in the vehicles to take with us, especially if like during the winter time. We tend to go look at Christmas lights and drive around and go shopping. And sometimes it gets cold in the car. And if the car dies or breaks down, I want to have those blankets to keep my family warm and keep us going. Don't get those little cheap thin fleece blankets. Those don't do any good. You got to at least get something with a little bit of thickness that can keep you warm in the cold weather. Now, granted, if you live in Phoenix, Arizona, having a blanket to keep warm, not necessarily a high priority. Maybe you have a blanket to cover the seats. So that way, when you get into your car, you can pull the blanket off and not be burning your legs or things like that. Especially if you have kids. If you can keep the seats from burning up and really burning their legs, it's a great thing. You don't want to have your kids, getting burn marks on the back of their legs because of how hot the sun was on their seat. And that does happen. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me, in fact, on some of my trips to Phoenix. So a blanket could be to keep warm or to protect your seats so they don't get too hot. Next thing, and this one should not come as a surprise to anybody, have water bottles in your car. Now, I know some people don't like putting a case of water in their car, especially in like warmer states like Arizona, California, because your water does get hot, and especially if it's in plastic, it's not good for you to have sun bearing down on the plastic. So what I actually do, once again, I live in North Dakota, it's not hot necessarily most of the year. I actually have a cooler in the back of my Acadia full of water bottles. Now, this actually serves two purposes. One, my water bottles don't fly everywhere. And two, during the winter, they're less likely to freeze. During the summer, they're less likely to get really hot too. It keeps them more at a average temperature, more to sustained temperature. So I just have a cooler. We have like two or three good sized coolers. I just have one of them back there year round, all year round, which also is great when we go to softball tournaments or softball games or practices. If my daughters run out of water and we get back to the Acadia, they just open the cooler, grab a water bottle, and they're good to go. So having water in your car is an essential item. You have to have that in your car. Water bottle, water, whatever it is, you got to have that, especially if your car breaks down. You don't want to get lost out there with no water. That is some of the riskiest things you could do, especially if you're going on a road trip. Another easy thing to have in your car is granola bars, nuts, snacks that will last for a while. I have those Nature Valley hard green package granola bars usually in my vehicle all the time. They're not the greatest thing in the world, but they're not bad. Like my daughters eat them, I eat them. And so if we were hungry, we'd have something to eat. And even if we're not stranded, even if we're just on a road trip and we're just going, if you're not near a restaurant and you're starting to get hungry, you can grab one of those, eat it. At least helps you keep your, blood sugar level for some people. For some people, it just helps you get rid of the whole, angry when you're hungry type stuff. So have snacks in there. Now, don't put things that go bad. Like my daughters tend to leave apples and fruit in there, and that goes bad pretty quickly in a vehicle. So don't do stuff like that. If you do bring fruit in there, make sure you're eating it right away. Other things you need to have, and this is a little bit tougher. There are some things that I think you need to have, but not every car has. My vehicles do not have a spare tire, mainly because I don't really have space for them. There's not a lot of areas for a spare tire in my vehicle. Now, I do have a jack, and usually I have a lug wrench. I don't have a lug wrench in there right now because I've been trying to adjust what's in my vehicles. But having a jack, having lug wrenches is good. That is helpful. Having a spare tire is preferred. Some people have a setup where their spare tire is underneath their vehicle. A little bit tougher to get to, but at least it's not in the storage area. I don't have that in my Acadia. In my little car, I actually do have an area where I can put a tire in. It actually kind of goes in the bottom of the trunk and then has the a layer over top of it where you still can store stuff. So that works great. But really, having a spare tire is important. I'm not going to tell you you shouldn't have one or should have one. I will tell you I wish I had one in my Acadia, but I don't. Next thing is a tire pressure gauge. Uh, this is more for older vehicles, to be honest. My newer vehicles tell me what my tire pressure is. I don't even have to have a tire gauge. I can tell you what the pressure is just by clicking a button. So if you do have older vehicles, the tire gauge, pressure gauge is important. So you know if you are starting to get low, get a flat. A low tire can actually put you at risk, especially if you're driving on the freeway. So make sure your tires are, inflated to the proper, pressure. A toolkit is something that I think is pretty important to have. Having screwdrivers, pliers, adjustable wrench doesn't seem like much, but those things are important, and you never know when you might need something. Even if you're not even doing something with your vehicle, maybe you're at I don't know, maybe you're at a sporting event, and for some reason, some weird reason, you need a screwdriver or pliers. I mean, I've been at so many tournaments where the most random, weirdest tools were needed for something, and someone always had it, but it was really kind of a weird thing that was needed. Even things like maybe something got stuck into a cleat and you got pulled out, so you have pliers and that type of stuff. So you never know when you might need it. Just have it there, have it ready. Duct tape is amazing. Duct tape works for everything. It can fix so many things. I know that NASCAR used to use duct tape to fix things all the time, and that was their go-to fix it. So duct tape is great. You can use it for a lot of things. Make sure you have it in your vehicle. It's a simple thing, doesn't take up much space. Now, as you go through, make sure that you have a phone charger in your car. The good thing about my vehicles is we actually can plug our phone into our stereo system and it charges the phone at the same time. So my phone is plugged in about 98% of the time in the vehicle. Once in a while, I won't plug it in if I'm just doing a short trip to the Minute Mart. But most every time I get in the vehicle, I plug my phone in right off the bat. That's where I get my music and it charges my phone. So have a phone charger in your car. Have a power bank as well in case your car dies, you have an extra power, but have that cord in there charging your phone. I recommend everyone have a map. What my recommendation is go to a bookstore or go Walmart used to sell them. I'm not sure if they still do. Being get the like Rand McNally map of the whole country and just a big book of all 50 states maps. I love it because, like I said, my family road trips a lot. So as we're going, if I'm kind of in the back area, which if you've ever driven North Dakota or South Dakota, everything's the back roads, it seems like. You can just look at the map and say, okay, here's where I'm at, here's where I'm going, take you where you need to be. Because GPS doesn't always work. Like I said, you're up here in North Dakota. We drove down to Devil's Tower in Wyoming this couple months ago, and the GPS, it worked, but it took us through this gravel road that went through part of Montana to get to Wyoming. And I thought we were completely lost. I thought the GPS was wrong, pulled out the map, looked at it, found out, no, we're going the right way. But, you know, there were times where the GPS stopped working for a little while, and I had to pull out that paper map to make sure I was going the right way. So paper maps are important, especially if your, phone dies, something like that. Next thing is insurance and registration documents need to be in your vehicle. Guys, that's not a necessity. That is a law. You got to have your insurance and registration in your vehicle. I know some people have their insurance on their phone. Don't do that. Um, I'm not a lawyer. Don't do that. Have the paper documents. Just telling you. Plus, once again, if your phone doesn't have service and you can't pull it up, paper document. It's right there. It's good to go. And they don't have to give your phone over to the law enforcement officers, for when you were speeding or that stuff. Have your stuff in your car. It's a must have. You must have registration, must have insurance. Just telling you guys, once again, I'm not a lawyer, but that's what we need to do. Last things that need to take care of is having an ice scraper or snow brush. Now, this is for during the winter months in states where they have winters. Um, North Dakota has winters. Texas sometimes has winters. Florida, Southern California, not so much. So know where you live, know your needs, things like that. That's why the next thing is umbrella and or poncho. You if you live in Washington State, where I used to live, during the fall and the spring, you got to have an umbrella or a poncho. It is going to rain. You need to be ready for it, that type of stuff. But if you are going up to states where there might be snow, make sure you have ice scrapers, snow brushes, have that stuff ready to go. And you never know when it's going to happen. I mean, right now we're in early November, and even though North Dakota is not really getting a lot of snow or anything like that, Colorado and New Mexico are getting feet of snow. So, I mean, you would think that'd be more southern, especially like New Mexico, but there's snow there. Colorado's getting snow. You go through the mountains, like if you're driving cross country and going through the Rocky Mountains, going through the Cascade Mountains, you're going to see snow in the winter time. So make sure you have gear to keep you warm, keep you safe, keep you hydrated, keep you fed, that type of stuff. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you live in Arizona or Southern California, maybe the thing you need isn't a snow brush or an ice scraper. Maybe it's sunscreen and a hat. During the summertime, in the tote that I keep all of our supplies in, I usually have 2 or 3 bottles of sunscreen. And then I've got hats for everybody, which most everybody in my family carries hats and sunglasses with us. But We have our blankets in the vehicles year round as well in case it gets hot. We can put on the seats, like I said earlier. So lots of different things. Make sure you have supplies. That's the biggest thing. Have supplies in your vehicle. Whether you're going for an hour trip to go shopping or a 10-hour drive to go to a state park or whatever you're doing, have supplies to keep you and your family safe and prepared no matter what the circumstances are. That's the biggest thing. Keeping yourself and your family safe. That's the key. That's exactly what this is all about. It's about being prepared. So when no matter what happens, car breaks down, battery dies, get caught in a blizzard, caught in a thunderstorm, whatever it is, you're ready, you're prepared, you can do what needs to be done. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for taking the time to check out the video. Please, once again, go check out the other videos that we have. Make sure you go and watch our whole set of videos we have on, especially the job searching stuff. It's an area that I have a lot of information to share with you guys. And subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. But thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Josh, and this is Adulting 101 Academy. Till next time, have fun doing road trips and enjoy life.